Hi, I'm Eileen, and this is Greek Mythology Group 2. Today we are going to discuss some of the allusions from Greek and Roman mythology. Big words, right? But don't get too stressed out. Let's start with the basics.
Greek and Roman mythology have exerted a very profound and comprehensive influence on Western culture, including religion, philosophy, arts, and literature. So when you come into contact with the Western works, you are bound to encounter some of the allusions from these myths. So if you want to study literature, how can you not know about these allusions? How can you not know about Greek and Roman mythology? Well, this video will take you through a dozen common allusions of these myths. Alright, without further ado, let's get down to the point.
You probably know Zeus and many goddesses gave birth to tons of kids, but in fact, Zeus not just loved goddesses. For example, Hercules was the son of Zeus and a mortal woman. Throughout Hercules' life, he clung to his choice of a life that is hard but also honorable. He used his supernatural powers to complete the 12 labors, including killing the Nemean lion and conquering Hydra. His name bears a combination of tragedy, force, and glory, because he was the result of Zeus' unfaithfulness to Hera. Throughout his life, he was tortured by Hera. Hera used secret methods to make him go insane and thus kill many people around him, including his music teacher and his children. At last, his wife was fearful that he might be unfaithful to her and therefore accidentally killed him with poison on the clothes. The tragedy of his life came from Hera's hatred and ended with his wife's jealousy, representing the concept of tragedies caused by women. Amazing, isn't it? But Shakespeare didn't think so. In his play Hamlet, Act 2, Scene 1, Hamlet was irritated by his mother's marriage with his uncle and said,
"My father's brother, but no more than my father, denied to Hercules."
Hamlet mentioned Hercules to indicate he would not be like Hercules to make his life tragic because of women. This allusion came up with Hamlet's anger towards his mother and in fact indicate Hamlet's hatred and distrust towards women. Such negative emotion is later proven by Hamlet's words later in this act. He said that the name of weakness is woman. This was very subjective judgment from Hamlet, represented his negative feelings towards women. The allusions of Hercules in Hamlet went beyond issues of women. Hamlet's life story including many similar elements from Hercules. Hamlet went insane for several times, just as Hercules did. Hamlet made his name the connotation of glory and tragedy, just like Hercules did. Even his claim that he would not be like Hercules was a wrong prediction. His life full of hatred began with his mother's remarriage, and by the end of the play, he went seriously insane because of the death of Ophelia. Now let's go back to Zeus. Leda and the Swan is also a story from Greek mythology in which Zeus, in the form of a swan, seduces, or in some versions, rapes Leda. Leda later gave birth to Helen, who played a crucial role in the following Trojan War. The myth is mentioned in Richard Gate's 1962 novel Revolutionary Road. The character Frank Wheeler, married to April Wheeler, after having had sex with an office secretary, ponders what to say as he is living. Did the swan apologize to Leda? Did an eagle apologize? Did the lion apologize? Hell no. She used the allusion to indicate that men seduced her with eroticism, but left her cruelly. By saying that the swan owed an apology to Leda, she expressed her idea about the sexual relationship between men and women. Men seduce women and thus they off women after having had sex with them. You said you were sick of Zeus? Well, let's look at another god. Bacchus. But first, I must tell you, his mother was also one of the Zeus' mortal mistresses. Bacchus was the Roman god of agriculture, wine, and fertility. His plants were vines and ivy. His followers were goat-footed satyrs and Minas, wild women who danced energetically during his festivals. He was extremely beautiful and caused ecstasy like that in festival everywhere. Where he went, people danced and drank, releasing desires and receiving pleasure. In Nietzsche's work, The Birth of Tragedy, the goat of wine is used for many times, representing the opposite side of the god and the sound. Nietzsche alluded to people's parties at Bacchus' festival to symbolize people's inseparable ecstasy and suffering of human existence. Also, the short story Las Midas by Julio Cortázar described the concert in which the narrator does not react emotionally to the music, but a number of women are overwhelmed with the emotion and surge into the stage, overtaking the conductor and musicians. The allusion to Bacchus' ritual symbolized the release of human desire and chaos that came after. I'm sure you've heard about Pandora. Pandora had a jar containing all kinds of mystery and evil. Out of curiosity, she afterward opened the jar, from which the evils flew out over the earth. Hope alone remained inside. The image of Pandora appears frequently in various literary works and movies. For example, the mysterious box in Mulholland Drive symbolized Diane's hatred, fear, and insanity that led her to kill her lover. You know Oedipus, right? He was meant, as foretold, kill his father and marry his mother. Oedipus was abandoned at birth because the terrible prophecy that he was going to kill his father and marry his mother. So he was brought up by his adopted parents. Ironically, it was because he heard of the rumor about the fate that he wanted to leave his adopted parents early, which ultimately led to the tragedy. Yes, he unwittingly fulfilled the prophecy that he would kill his true father and marry his true mother. Arriving at Thebes, a city in turmoil, Oedipus encounters Sphinx, a legendary beast with head and breast of a woman, body of a lioness, and wings of an eagle. The Sphinx, perched on the hill, was devouring Thebans and travelers one by one if they could not solve her riddle. Sphinx asks, "What's the creature that walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 in the evening?" Oedipus, blessed with great intelligence, answered correctly, "Man, who crawls on all 4s as an infant, walks upright in maturity, and leans on a stick in old age." Bested by the prey, the Sphinx threw herself from the cliff, thereby ending the curse. Oedipus' reward from freeing Thebes from Sphinx is kingship to the city, and its queen, Jocasta, now at the point realized that Jocasta is Oedipus' true mother. Thus, unbeknownst to either character, the remaining prophecy has been fulfilled. At the end of the play, after the truth finally comes into light, Jocasta hangs herself, while Oedipus, horrified at his parricides and incest, proceeds to gouge out her own eyes in desperate. In Floyd's book, Totem and Taboo, he uses Oedipus' complex to indicate boys' emotion towards their parents, that boys will be jealous of their fathers and admire at their mothers. Antigone was the daughter born of the unwittingly incestuous union of Oedipus and his mother, Jocasta. She attempted to reconcile his quarreling brothers, Eteocles and Polynices. Both of them were later killed, and their uncle Priam became king. After performing an elaborate funeral service for Eteocles, Corinth forbade the removal of the corpse of Polynices, declaring he to have been a traitor. Antigone, convinced of the injustice of the command, buried Polynices secretly. So she was ordered by Priam to be executed and was immersed in the cave where she hanged herself. The fragment of Strong Doors in Kruger Film Festival, Germany, autumn, quoted Antigone as an intertext. In October incident in Germany, a terrorist, the leader of Right Army Company, was empowered after his death in prison. At the moment when the author refused to be buried, the television station produced and broadcast Antigone in violation of the ruler's order to bury the rebel's brother, alluding to current affairs. There's a huge wooden horse in everyone's memory. Yes, we are talking about the Trojan War, a legendary conflict between ancient Greece and people of Troy. The prince of Troy fell in love with Helen, the wife of Sparta's king, and brought her back to Troy. The Sparta king was very mad. To bring back Helen, he asked his brother Agamemnon to lead an army to Troy, which started the Trojan War. The Greek army had many great soldiers, such as Odysseus and Achilles. However, the war lasted for 10 years. Guess what ended it? A horse! The Greeks made a wooden horse full of soldiers inside and left it outside of the gates of Troy. Here comes an allusion of the Trojan horse. In the song Trapdoored by One Republic, the lyrics state that your children's horse is big enough to say them all, and you are not a foolish one at all. Let's look at some allusions of people mentioned in the story. The first one is Achilles. He was one of the strongest warriors of the Greek. When people allude to him, that often means guard and protection. For example, in the song Temporary like Achilles, Achilles represents the guard of the ex-lover. Another famous allusion about Achilles is Achilles' heel. The term refers to a person's vulnerability or fatal flaw. This is because Achilles was given the ability to not be pierced by a river when he was a baby, but his mother held him by his heel, so that was the only place on his body not touched by the water and thus became his vulnerability. Eventually, Achilles was killed during the Trojan War when a poisoned arrow broke his heel. One example of Achilles' heel in the text is in the essay written by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, titled The Friend, a literary, moral, and political weekly paper. Coleridge explains Ireland, the vulnerable heel of British Achilles. In context, Ireland was the weakest country that affected strong and powerful Britain. To emphasize this point, Coleridge refers to Ireland as British Achilles' heel, meaning that it could have been responsible for Britain's downfall. The last allusion about Trojan War is Helen. The reference to Helen of Troy has often been used to compare a beautiful woman to Helen of Troy to say that they are beautiful. For example, in Romeo and Juliet, a friend of Romeo uses this sentence: Helen and Harold were sluts and harlots, to express how a girl is so beautiful that she makes the most beautiful woman in history look ugly. The victory of the Greeks offended many gods supporting Troy. As a result, many Greek heroes had a very difficult voyages home. One of them was Odysseus. The Odyssey accounts for Odysseus' final 6 weeks of his 10-year wandering after the Trojan War. He was first standing on the island of Calypso, then encountered the Cyclops on the island of Sycria. He went to the underworld and talked with his fellow Greek heroes who died on their way home from Troy. On the second half of the poem, he returned to Ithaca and killed all of the suitors of his wife Penelope. People use his experience to symbolize the long journey. For example, in one SpongeBob movie, SpongeBob gets a bag of wind to help him get home, which alludes to Odysseus' chance of getting home with good winds. Specifically, Neptune, the bag of wind, was in search of the Neptune crown. SpongeBob and Patrick tried by the devil in an adequate diving suit that resembled a one-eyed giant, element seen in the Odyssey. Agamemnon was the warrior and commander of the Greek forces during the Trojan War. Agamemnon once had shot the deer of the goddess of the moon. The goddess was so angry, and when the Trojan War came, he blew against the wind and prevented the army from marching. Only when Agamemnon sacrificed his daughter to the goddess could the Greeks be forgiven. Agamemnon's wife killed him because of her daughter's misfortune. Many years later, Agamemnon's son Orestes takes revenge again. The curse of revenge is a great tragedy. One allusion is from the movie The Killing of a Sacred Deer. The title comes from a reference to Agamemnon. Besides, in the movie, the surgeon Stephen liked Agamemnon's situation. Because his surgery errors led to Martin's father died, then a series of revenge and the search things are Stephen paid for their fault. As a series of deaths caused by Agamemnon, Stephen will eventually cause the deaths of those around him. When Agamemnon's wife and her lover also conspire to kill Agamemnon's son, Orestes, another daughter of Agamemnon, Electra, saved his life by sending him away to live with his uncle. One would allude to Orestes and Electra when he or she wants to commit vengeance against a father's death or matricide. One allusion is in Sisyphus. The florist of both murderers has an oil painting of Orestes, pursued by the Nemeans. It's almost like the murderer is blurring his own voice over a loudspeaker. I want to revenge. Another allusion of Electra is the Electra complex, which refers to the phenomenon of a daughter being subconsciously attracted to her by her father, named so after the story of Electra, the daughter of Agamemnon, who killed her mother. We will end today's video with the story of King Midas, who was granted one wish by the god. Because of his greed, Midas asked that everything he touched turn into gold. However, that golden touch causes the downfall of the king, as he soon realized he could not eat or drink or even hung his daughter. We often see Midas in quiet and interesting places. For example, Midas is also a vehicle repair company. Their motto is, "Trust the Midas touch." This is an advertise that they have the perfect touch with cars. Alright, this is all for today's crosswords. Remember, the beauty of mythologies is infinite, and what we have learned today is just a small part of it floating on the surface, like the tiny stars in the vast sky. If you are interested in similar contents, please never stop reading and thinking. Please subscribe to our channel if you would like to watch more. We will see you soon. Bye.